Black Ops 6 Zombies does not matter. Or rather, it doesn't matter yet. It's a provocative statement, one that might make you raise an eyebrow or even agree, depending on your feelings. But before you tune out, before you finish writing that comment, let me explain. This isn't a knock on Black Ops 6 or its Zombies mode. Instead, it's an invitation to view the game through a different lens. One that considers the role in the broader creative arc of Call of Duty Zombies. Let's take another look back at it, and Black Ops 2. In storytelling, not every chapter is the grand finale, and that's not a bad thing. Some chapters are bridges, quietly setting the stage for the fireworks to come. They might not always dazzle on their own, but they are crucial to the story's overall impact. Setting up pieces may not be as fun to watch as knocking them down, but it has to happen first. I believe Black Ops 6 is one such chapter in the Zombies saga. To understand why, we need to revisit another game that played a similar role, Black Ops 2. When it launched, Black Ops 2 Zombies mode had a rocky start. The initial launch map and first DLC, Transit and Die Rise, introduced the Victis crew, a group of random street-level characters who felt like placeholders where the beloved original crew should have been. Reception was mixed, and fans were left wanting more. But then came Mob of the Dead, a map developed by the campaign team featuring a celebrity cast crew of mobsters in Alcatraz. It was an immediate hit, praised for its innovation and atmosphere. The regular Zombies team then returned with Buried, wrapping up the Victis story in a way that felt inconclusive, still marred by design issues. Finally, the campaign team returned with Jason Blundell heading to deliver Origins, a masterpiece that reintroduced the original characters as premise, alternative versions of themselves, setting the stage for the multiverse saga of Black Ops 3. Today, Black Ops 2 is remembered fondly, not just for its own merits, but for how it paved the way for what many consider the zenith of Zombies, Black Ops 3. I believe that Black Ops 6 is on a similar trajectory. It might not be the fan favorite right now, but it's laying the foundation for something monumental in the next installment, which I'll call Black Ops 7 for simplicity, COD 2025. In this video, I'll explore the parallels between Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 6, both in their narratives and gameplay mechanics. I'll also discuss how Black Ops 6 is setting the stage for Black Ops 7, much like Black Ops 2 did for Black Ops 3. It just does feel very jarring right now when this game had 4 years of development, even though they were working on other things like Vanguard and Modern Warfare Zombies, and 2 years of development apparently was just getting all of the zombie systems working again on the new Modern Warfare engine, and getting the developers used to the new engine. But nevertheless, the wait has been long, and I think we were expecting the impact of this game to hit a lot harder, especially story-wise, and right now, we're 4 maps in, and the story is not hitting hard enough for most of the community, with many dubbing it as being boring, which comes as such a shock when they've had so long to develop this. I think this is because they're prioritizing the return of the original characters with Black Ops 7 right now, and I think with them having 2 Black Ops Zombies games back to back, it's dampened the initial impacts that Black Ops 6 should have been having, because I guess if this situation didn't arise where they were doing 2 games back to back, I think initially if Modern Warfare Zombies didn't go into development and Treyarch weren't forced into making 2 Black Ops Zombies games back to back, the return of the original characters wouldn't be for another few years after Black Ops 6. And because of that, they would have focused more on Black Ops 6 itself, making not only Black Ops 6 Zombies have more impact because it needs to be remembered for 3 years to build to the next one, but also making probably the return of the original characters have more impact after a wait, and it being established and set up at the end of Black Ops 6 to get us excited, and then we're left waiting for a while building up the anticipation instead of it just dropping immediately, like what's going to happen with Black Ops 7. In this video, I'll explore the parallels between Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 6, both in their narratives and gameplay mechanics. I'll also discuss how Black Ops 6 is setting the stage for Black Ops 7, much like Black Ops 2 did for Black Ops 3. Let's start by revisiting Black Ops 2's Zombies mode and its evolution. The game launched with Transit, a map that introduced the Victis crew, 4 new characters who were a far cry from the iconic Richtofen, Dempsey, Takeo, and Nikolai. Victis felt like outsiders, almost like they were holding space for the real heroes. players. The map itself was ambitious, with its large open world connected by a bus, but it was plagued by technical issues and frustrating gameplay elements like the fog and denizens, being just way too ambitious for its own good. Reception was mixed and many fans were left underwhelmed, and instead just focused on playing the smaller, simpler survival maps sections from Transit, as well as Nuketown Zombies, that were a lot more welcoming. Next came Die Rise, another map featuring the Victis crew. While it experimented with verticality, it didn't fully win over the community. The new crew still hadn't clicked with players, and the map's design choices similarly left some frustrated, with again people feeling like it isn't a very easy to jump into experience. Then a shift occurred with Mob of the Dead. Like I said, developed by the campaign team, this map broke away from the Victis storyline and introduced a new crew of celebrity-voiced mobsters trapped in Alcatraz. It was a critical success, praise for its dark tone, innovative afterlife system, a new take on the inventory and buildable systems, plus a gripping narrative. Mob of the Dead showed that zombies could thrive outside the main storyline, offering a fresh take that resonated with fans. The Zombies team returned with Buried, bringing back the Victis crew to conclude their story. While the map had its moments, it was still hampered by design issues and the crew's lingering unpopularity. The story seemed to end with Victis' apparent demise, but it didn't feel like a satisfying conclusion. However, this was a much more popular map, but at the same time, people were not into the Victis crew story, I don't think, but they did start to gel more with this map, but again, they were left wondering what on earth this all even means. But Buried is a personal favourite for mine, and this map did what the other maps just failed to do in Black Ops 2, which is just an easy jump into play experience, which most fans need, especially as a launch map. Finally, the campaign team returned delivering Origins, the last DLC map. Set in a World War I excavation site in France, Origins introduced younger versions of the original characters, now known as Primus. The map was a triumph, featuring iconic elements like the elemental staffs and giant robots, and it expanded the lore in ways that would shape the future of zombies forever, while bringing the interesting and flavorful design of Mob of the Dead spin-off back to the main storyline. Origins was more than just a map. It was a revelation, hinting at a multiverse and setting up the narrative plus gameplay design elements for Black Ops 3 and 4. In hindsight, Black Ops 2 is seen as a pivotal game in the Zombies series. While its initial maps with the Victis crew were not universally beloved, the game as a whole laid the groundwork for the expansive narrative and gameplay innovations of Black Ops 3. Without the transitional phase of Black Ops 2, the series might not have reached the heights it did with Black Ops 3. I think the big problem with this though, is that Black Ops Cold War was largely a setup game to Black Ops 6 as well, and yet Black Ops 6 is now feeling like once again a setup game for Black Ops 7. We shouldn't be getting two setup games back to back. Regardless, now let's turn our attention to Black Ops 6. At first glance, it might seem like just another entry in the series, but if we look closer, we can see that it's playing a similar role to Black Ops 2. One of the most striking similarities is the introduction of a new crew, the Terminus crew. Whilst yes, we've seen them before in the past game, they were not playable, and we didn't see Maya. Much like Victis in Black Ops 2, the Terminus crew feels like a group of less interesting newcomers stepping into a space where fans might expect the original characters. While some of them have had very interesting character arcs play out via the intel and radios in Cold War and Black Ops 6, there's a sense that they are placeholders, keeping the story moving until the real heroes return, which has led to some sloppy writing or just many loose threads of their characters just being abandoned, especially so much of their personalities from Cold War that we expected to be followed up on. Even between the maps in Black Ops 6, it seems like from map to map, the themes of each characters seem to be getting forgotten so easily and are not harped on enough. What makes these parallels even more compelling is the sheer intentionality behind the connections between Origins and the Tomb, as if Treyarch is subtly steering us towards this very interpretation. The setting alone, French dig sites steeped in ancient secrets, mirror each other with uncanny precision. Origins unearths a World War II battlefield intertwined with mystical relics like the elemental staffs, while the Tomb unveils a temple complex where the Ice Staff resurfaces, its familiar circular symbol etched into the stone as a nod to its predecessor. Visually, the maps echo one another through towering pillars and circular patterns reminiscent of the Crazy Place, bathed in an otherworldly glow that hints at something beyond the natural. The soundtrack reinforces this link, with familiar Origins tracks like Ether and The Crypt woven into the Tomb's atmosphere, stirring a subconscious recognition in players. Far from random random callbacks, these choices feel meticulously crafted, breadcrumbs scattered to suggest that Black Ops 6 is retracing Black Ops 2's footsteps, positioning the tomb as a spiritual successor to Origins and a harbinger of a larger narrative shift. It's a quiet signal that this game, like its ancestor, might be laying the groundwork for something extraordinary. The difference is, though, the tomb is just nowhere near on the scale or grandeur as Origins, and is meant to be a much smaller, basic jump into play experience. However, the parallels are definitely there, story-wise, it's just nowhere near hitting in the same way, but shows that they are trying to retread on common ground to hopefully relight the match that was the success of Black Ops 3 Zombies. If Black Ops 6 follows the same pattern as Black Ops 2, we might see a similar trajectory. Initial maps featuring the Terminus crew, but then a finale map that reintroduces the original characters, setting up the narrative for Black Ops 7. Now, this isn't to say the Terminus crew can't be compelling in their own right, but their role might be to set the stage for what's to come. It's unfortunate because I do think the crew has stuff there, especially with Weaver and Maya. It just really feels like so much of their personalities is being forgotten map to map, or just not touched on enough. Weaver especially has so much untapped potential with his past history with Richtofen, and I felt they were moving in the right direction with Citadel Daymore, but jumping to the tomb, it's almost like that didn't matter, and there's only one throwaway line about Kraft being his father on the map when this should be a much more integral theme, in my opinion. And I think they have so many characters now and side characters that are being forgotten. Where on earth is Peck? He was said to be one of the characters on the tomb and he's nowhere. I think that's another big mistake, is they have way too many characters right now and some of them are being completely abandoned. I think Maya, honestly, after killing Franco, should have just been left to Citadel Daymore. She gets her revenge, she doesn't need to go after Richtofen now. And then they could have swapped in Peck or Ravenov as a playable character, who personally I think are some of the most interesting characters and have been the most fleshed out over the games. Even more so than, you know, the main characters such as Gray and Carver. I feel those two have more backstory, which just shouldn't be the case. And Peck especially is a fun character, and I think he's just being mistreated as just being on the exfil for some weird reason, and he's not even played a role in the tomb. God knows if he's even going to be on future maps. But anyways, just as Victus' story felt like a detour before the return of Primus and Origins, once you could look at them for the bigger picture, the Terminus crew could be paving the way for the original characters' comeback in Black Ops 7, and we've seen it reported by insiders that this is the case. We will see the original characters return in the next Call of Duty title. The difference is, though, it's coming immediately, with no gap between the games. One of the most striking elements in Black Ops 6 is its persistent callbacks to the classic Ether storyline, particularly through the deliberate reassignment of dialogue between Samantha Maxis and Eddie Richtofen, a trend that began in Black Ops Cold War and continues to deepen here. Consider...
Do you know who I am? Yeah, we know.
In the Ether narrative, Richtofen delivers this to the Primus crew as a challenge, questioning if they grasp his pivotal role in their multiverse-spanning saga. In the Dark Ether storyline, Samantha repurposes it.
Do you know who I am?
Addressing the zombies she destroys. It's a subtle nod to her history as their controller in the original tale, where she wielded power over them after being trapped in the MPD on Moon. Another example is spoken by Samantha in Cold War's Forsaken ending cutscene, a line lifted directly from Primus Richtofen in the Ether storyline from Der Eisendrache's ending.
This is the only way.
It is the only way.
Where it underscored his ruthless determination, here it reframes her own sacrificial act to thwart the Forsaken. These reuses aren't coincidental. They reflect Trek's intent to intertwine their identities. And on screen and in the description, I have a video going over all of the Ether story ties and callbacks in the Dark Ether saga. But if BO6 is the new Black Ops 2, this would naturally mean that a new Black Ops 3 must come next. Beyond the crew dynamics, there are narrative and gameplay connections between Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 6 that suggest a similar arc. In Black Ops 2, the storyline involved Richtofen and Maxis vying for control, with Richtofen trying to manipulate the Ether to re-enter the physical world and Maxis willing to destroy the Earth to save Samantha. In Black Ops 6, we see a reversal. Samantha Maxis, an AI copy albeit, is in control of the Dark Ether and seeks to re-enter the physical world with a real body, while Richtofen is driven to save his lost child, Samuel, as well as his wife. This role reversal is a thematic choice that echoes throughout the game, much like the character swaps we saw in Cold War Zombies with Richtofen and Samantha. It suggests that Black Ops 6 is intentionally mirroring Black Ops 2, perhaps setting up a new narrative arc that will culminate in Black Ops 7. On the gameplay front, Black Ops 6 introduces mechanics that could be expanded in Black Ops 7, similar to how Black Ops 3 refined ideas from Black Ops 2. For example, the way the inventory items and Easter egg design work shifted drastically with the campaign team maps in Black Ops 2, but this would go on to be the standard for Zombies maps in Black Ops 3 and beyond. Additionally, the close release proximity of Black Ops 6 and 7 means that Black Ops 7 will likely build directly on Black Ops 6's systems in much the same way, potentially carrying over weapons, perks, maybe even maps or other assets to create a more expansive experience, and getting a chance to iterate on their design using feedback from Black Ops 6. Essentially, while Black Ops 6 might not be the most celebrated entry in the Zombies series right now, or even feel like it's getting rushed out, with each map not having as much impact as maps of old, its importance will likely be recognized in retrospect. It's a transitional game, much like Black Ops 2, that is laying the groundwork for something incredible, I hope at least, in Black Ops 7. Just as Black Ops 2 set the stage for the multiverse and the return of the original characters in Black Ops 3, Black Ops 6 is setting up a new narrative arc that could bring back beloved characters, and considering all leaks we've seen so far relating to the next Zombies experience also say they are coming back, this could be the case. But what do you think? Do you see the potential of Black Ops 6 when viewed as a transitionary game? Something essentially helping this new Dark Aether story finally gets legs and begin to take a large tonal shift. I just think this is a mistake though, for this to be this way when that's what Cold War was. This should be the game where the world building, which was done fantastically I might add in Cold War in the plethora of intel, is finally having an impact for the wider community. This shouldn't be a transitional game, but I think there's been some developmental issues with two games coming out back to back, which has meant that this has become yet another transitional game for the original characters. But are you excited for what that means? Do you think Black Ops 7 has the potential to go to the same heights as Black Ops 3? I am hopeful, but definitely skeptical. The thing that gives me hope though is hopefully Treyarch are not making another Zombies mode that's rushed a year after, since DMZ will apparently be with Modern Warfare 4 in 2026. So I'm hoping then they can put their all into making sure the original crew returning hits hard, because they only get one shot at this. If they mess it up, they can't just bring them back again. It really wouldn't work if they try it again if this does not land, and it has me really concerned if that's so, because that would mean that they've rushed out Black Ops 6 and made it as a transitionary game for nothing essentially, when they should have just focused on making a compelling new story and not have to bog down the weight of thinking about the original characters returning and treading on old ground. I think Cold War was the perfect setup game, but Black Ops 6 shouldn't be one. I really don't think so. You can't have two transitionary games in a row, and that makes Black Ops 7 have to hit even harder. They should have really just focused in this game on making Richtofen more of an integral focus, instead of him just having like one radio per map, and hopefully he's going to be a lot more present now with the Mansion DLC map, considering that's where he got sent into the Dark Aether, so I'm hoping with the next two maps, he becomes a much more important character. But we all thought by the Forsaken's ending that he was going to be the most integral part of this game, and this game would be a much more scientific game, when they've gone for the more magical tone, which is very odd, and tying back in the Chaos story, which was very niche, instead of following up on all of the loose threads from Cold War, which feels very jarring. I don't know if it's because Richtofen's going to be a playable character next year, so they feel like it's not necessary, but this is a different version of Richtofen, one so different and calm and collected from the intel we've heard him in. We have very little inkling as to what his personality is like compared to his predecessors, and I hope with Janus Towers and Mansion that finally begins to unfold, because it should have been happening earlier on in this game. The Liberty Falls intro showed us how fun Richtofen is, and that already got people so excited, only for him to be whisked into the Dark Aether for us to go on a fetch quest every single map for the Sentinel artifact, which is just becoming tedious. So yeah, I think this should have been a more grounded game, a more scientific game with Richtofen. Whilst I enjoy the magical elements, now that we've had a couple maps of it, and it really feels weird, whilst I enjoy the Chaos connections, I feel like only I and some very niche people actually do, because most people probably didn't even play the Chaos story much, if I'm going to be honest, and they don't even recognize the connections. They need to be making the zombie story accessible to all, and I think with all of the connections connections to the Chaos story, it means that the lore you need to understand literally spans thousands of years. The lore on the Tomb and Citadel spans thousands of years. The average fan is not going to be able to keep up with that. People were, in the past, very interested in the original characters' lore, in the original Aether story. So I can see more people getting into that next year with them tying that all back in. However, they still need the new fans to be able to understand what's going on as well. And unfortunately, Chaos just didn't hit the first time for most fans, so people aren't even getting the connection. So they're writing the story in a way that's designed for a very select handful of people. And it's good to have callbacks and it's good to have connections to the Chaos story, but I think they're doing it too much. And like I say, I think this really should have been a Richtofen-centric game. He's the fan favorite character after all, and that seemed to be what was being set up by the Forsaken's ending, only for it to just not be the case, which is a massive shock. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Anyways, thank you for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're not here for the latest and greatest Call of Duty news and information. So anyways, thank you for watching, and bye.